Episode of the Human Equation podcast, I sit down with one of the most famous YouTubers in the world, Shimon, who's hitting close to 1 million subscribers and someone that I consider a brother. We talk about the secrets behind growing your audience, why so many relationships fail, loneliness, discovering your toxic habits, self-reflection, and porn addiction. We also discuss his upcoming book. If you want to learn more about Shimon and the types of content he creates, consider subscribing to his YouTube channel and Instagram, which I've included in the link, and please share with your friends and family. As a quick reminder, if you want to create this podcast-like content that you see on our channel, you can easily do so by joining a video call on Figbox. With the person you want to speak to, Figbox will automatically record your conversations and generate these beautiful clips that you can post on your channel with the push of a button. Thank you so much, Shimon, for agreeing to come on a podcast. I'm very much looking forward to our conversation.
Pleasure to be here as always.
Excellent. So I wanted to start the conversation with, your, and if not my favorite YouTuber in the world, what was that journey like for you? Why did you even decide to sort of embark on that journey?
I would say it started from me wanting to be an actor. I wanted to be on the big screen. And as a child, my first dream ever that I decided in was to be a truck driver, like my grandpa. And then that developed to playing football and being an actor. And my biggest dream as a child at that point was to play in the NFL and in the off season play in movies, because I saw Home Alone and I felt like I could do it too as a child. So one day I realized that I could upload on YouTube and not just watch it. I mean, you see regular people on there, but it just don't dawn on you that you can do that too. And I seen a little plus sign on there one day and clicked it, and it was like upload a video, and I was like, oh, damn. I can get on the big screen now if I want to. So that's kind of how it started, and I just started imitating a lot of people that I admire, people that I watch being a kid, something you normally do. And that's kind of how the journey started.
Right. Yeah, I think you would make a phenomenal actor. Actually, and I'm sure that's something that you still will pursue as you. Yeah. A lot of people, when I speak to them and have these calls, they often talk about my voice and how relaxing it is and the cadence and so on. And I very much feel the same way about your voice. And so, do you get that a lot, where people say, "Well, you have such a nice voice," and and they want you to whisper in their ear, baby?
I've been requested to speak on many occasions. A lot of people requested audiobooks and podcasts. Like, I don't know, man. It's funny though, because like with YouTube, for example, when I first started YouTube, I hated my voice. I would edit my videos in silence, or I would have it turned up just enough where I could hear the vibrations and know where to clip it, or, just pausing it real quick when I hear myself speaking, or even like when my family would watch my videos and I would hear it from the other room, hearing my voice, it would make me cringe. And I hated it for a long time. And then I started getting more compliments about my voice and the cadence in which I speak. And I think I speak kind of like a wave. It goes up and goes down and up and down, and sometimes it goes up really high and goes down really low. And it is very relaxing. I've fallen asleep to a lot of my own videos. I've got lost in the sauce too, so I get it. I'm appreciative of the genetics, I guess.
Right. Let's go a little bit into the more secret part of the dark magic of a YouTube star, right? Like because it's a remarkable accomplishment to have almost 1 million people sort of turn on their ears, right, to hear what you're going to say, right? If you could just share just one or two main secrets you think for those listening who want to achieve that same level of popularity and sort of get their subscriptions up and grow their audience and grow their businesses. Like, what advice would you give those listening? Like, what are the two secrets that you would give that isn't often out there about you, or
I would
very
say
accessible?
when it comes to growing and anything, especially content creation, you always gonna hear the same thing. There's a lot of cliche because that's what works. You know, people gonna always tell you the consistency and get better and keep getting better, and that is the truth. There's no way for you to not succeed at something if you are consistently getting better.
Mm,
There's no way to fail at that point. You will go up and you will get, you will catch
right.
that success at some point. But I would say the main things you should focus on is one, being real. Always be yourself. Because let's say tomorrow you faking being somebody else and you blow up and get 1 million followers in a week. A year later, when you are an imposter, you're gonna burn yourself out, and a lot of people are gonna love you for something you're not. And then the day when you try to show who you are, nobody's
Mm,
gonna accept you, and you're gonna fall out of the sky. So always be yourself, be authentic, because that will generate an audience that's relatable to you. It's more easy for you to relate to them, and that's what people are looking for: relatability. We all going through stuff.
mm,
People want to hear about it. Instead of me getting on here and saying I got 40 girlfriends and 40 Lamborghinis, I'm just a regular dude in this room talking about my struggles and how I felt going through it and how I messed up and how I came up. And people see that relation to that. They live that every day. You can't really relate to a person in a penthouse in Dubai because you never been in a penthouse in Dubai. He might be telling you to get up because times is hard, but you didn't see his
mm,
hard times. Now that don't take away from his success. Not saying that he haven't went through hard times, but you're not seeing it. But me just being a normal, regular person and speaking my truth that way, people relate to that. Now beyond that personality, I guess you could say, or that substance, when I was growing, when I was really getting after it, I was extremely consistent, and I realized that there was a correlation between success and timing, especially in content creation. When you are very consistent, I look at it
mm,
almost like a manual transmission in an engine. When a manual transmission and an engine are working together, they have to sync to run properly. So when you pushing in that clutch, you have synchros in the car. When you push in the clutch and shift it into another gear, if you shift it right, the car doesn't really dip or bounce or anything. It falls right into line. But when you shift it incorrectly, the car revs up or goes down to meet the certain RPMs because for the engine and transmission to work properly, they have to synchronize in speeds. There's a certain speed that you're supposed to be going when you're in a certain gear. And I feel like the same is with consistency and success. When you are so consistent, that engine is spinning. That engine is spinning at a certain level. And some days you're gonna be off, some days you're gonna be off, some days you're gonna be off. But one of those days you're gonna hit head on the nail. And that's why consistency is so important because
mm.
if success is at one and I do nothing on day one, and then day two success is at four, and I do nothing on day four, and the success is at 10, and I do nothing on day three, I don't do anything. But if I show up to one and success is at two, and then I show up to one again and success is at four, and I show up to one again and success is at 10, and I show up to one again and success comes back to one, now I have more of a chance to grow. I have more of a chance to succeed. So that's why I think
Right.
consistency is so important and timing is so important. When you pay attention to certain things that are working and certain things are getting attention, when you show up every day, you have more opportunity to catch that success because it is an element to luck to it. But if you don't do anything, there's no way for you to harbor the luck. So
Right.
those are the most crucial things I would definitely tell a person, and definitely falling in love with the journey and forgetting the end result, but making your journey
Yeah.
produce the end result. You know what I'm saying? The thing.
Wow. That's incredibly powerful insights. I mean, as you were speaking, for example, I wanted to. I was sort of taking these mental notes because there's so much to unpack in what you said. For example, you crystallized this idea of timing and how a lot of success is about timing. But what I like in what you said is that it is almost impossible to know when the right time is. But by being consistent, you'll always catch moments, right? And one of those moments will be the right time. And so everything sort of like clicks. And so if you continue on that path of consistency, you
Yep.
get that. That's the first thing that I took out of what you just said. The second thing that I took out of what you just said, which I think is part of why so many people listen to you and empathize with you and relate to you is that authenticity and honesty, and that sort of like realness that you articulate in your conversations and in your channel. I mean, I remember, when I asked someone about your channel, that was one of the first things they said. They said, like, I love listening to Shimon, and I subscribe to him because I feel that he's a real person, he's not faking it, and so on, right? And so I think those two combinations, right? I think is a deadly combination, and something that I think you have shown works. And one thing that I like to say is, to the people that are listening is, I personally typically reflect on, in some religious texts, people speak about what is a man to gain the world but loseth his soul. And, I feel like a lot of times people feel like they have to trade in their character and their soul and morality to become successful and famous. And I just wanted to tell you all listening that here's a classic example of someone who has not done those things and has achieved a high level of success. And I very much see Simone as one of the leaders of the new school, meaning that when you look at the people that are currently at the top of the mountain, right, they normally articulate their wealth and their status in ways that I think are aversive to community, authenticity, and it's not about uplifting and inspiring people. So I think of Shimon as one of the leaders of the new school because he does the opposite, right? If you listen to his channels, his talks, his energy, right? It's a feeling of uplifting others, inspiring others, helping people motivate, and so I very much think that he's a rare breed when it comes to the landscape of knowledge and influencers and creators and innovators and artists. Shimon, I want to shift gears a little bit before I get into your book because we've had conversations offline and I'm just so excited for it to come out. But one of the things also that I really admire and really see about you is your love for music, right? Others can't see what I see because the podcast is just audio, and I done that for a reason because I want people to focus on the mind rather than what we're wearing or what we look like. But I can see you have all these guitars right in your environment, and you often give me this sort of Jimi Hendrix type of view. What is that? Yes, and you also Shimon is showing me his logo on his jacket. Talk a little bit about music and the power of music and why the guitar is something that you find, almost akin to an art. I know that's a very intimate object for you. Talk a little bit about that and how music sort of intersects with your who you are as a person.
Man, music, music. I believe truly, and I know I don't have to believe. There's no doubt at all. Music is definitely the language of the soul, definitely the language of life. You think about it, we speaking in English. There's certain people that speak Spanish, certain people that speak French, Japanese. It doesn't matter. But when you hear music, you know it's music, and you can feel music without even understanding it because it goes deeper than the ears. I feel like the language that we speak leaves room for misinterpretation and confusion and a lot more, but music is purely what it is. You can feel when music is chaotic. You can feel when it's peaceful. You can feel when it is uplifting. And that's why I despise the music industry now and how they're using it for the demise of people, using it to control people, using it to implement certain agendas upon groups of people to pass certain agendas. I think is pretty disrespectful. And I think it's a very disrespected art, but it is the most powerful art. Repeating certain things, repeating certain sounds, hearing certain vibrations. It just does something to who you are. And for me personally, I grew up around a lot of people who love real music, as I like to call it, music that you could play when the power goes out. A lot of this music that people play or that people like, you go to a concert and the power goes out, they can't perform anymore. Oh, well, sorry guys, you spent $1,000 on tickets. We can't make music anymore because it's all electric and we up here lip syncing. I don't like that. We can beat on drums, we can beat on chairs, we can pluck the strings of this acoustic guitar and these drums, and we can make music because it's real. Even if we have to go a cappella and use the greatest instrument that we have, which is ourselves, our voice, our hands, it's all music, you know. So I grew up around people. I grew up around people who value real music and powerful music that uplifted. And my mother forced me to watch Purple Rain, the movie Prince made to promote his album. And at first, I didn't want to watch it because it was my mom forcing me to watch a movie. But it caught me, man. It captivated me. Just seeing somebody express themselves that way. With me being so young, I still understood that level of expression. And he was sort of an outcast in the movie, which he was in real life too, making certain music and doing certain things that most people frowned upon. But he still remained to be himself. And at the end of the movie, landing a very powerful piece and connecting all those people, all different types of people in that club when he played Purple Rain for the first time. And then later learning that was the first time they had ever played Purple Rain live. And it was recorded and put on the album was even more powerful. And me and my brother, I used to laugh at Purple Rain, and I would tell my brother, hey, you want to watch Purple Rain, and laugh at it because I was too embarrassed to admit I liked it. But I knew if we were laughing at it, then we could watch it. But eventually I just grew out of worrying about what people thought. But it inspired me, man. And to feel something at that age, to have that hair stand up on the back of my neck, to have those goosebumps, getting goosebumps now, to have that feeling from just hearing something, I couldn't finish my life without recreating that for somebody else, even if it was myself. And that's what started my inspiration and my music journey. And I didn't take it seriously as a child, but then it kind of revisited me later on in my life, and that's when I started to buy guitars and a piano, and I got a bass, and like you said, it's instruments all over my room now, and now I have that ability to meditate and to express myself beyond words, because I don't always have the words to say, but I can play what I feel now, you know, and that's something that I always wanted to practice. I didn't want to be the best guitarist ever or the best musician ever, but I want to express how I feel and what it is, you know, beyond the threads of my skin, more of the soul, the strings of the soul. That's more so what I'm playing, and that's what I want to leave at the end of it all. I want to make music that people can feel. I'm not worried about being on the Billboard Top 100. I want to go to the small venues and give people soul, give people life, and yeah, man, that's myself now. I love it.
A lot of people don't know about you that you actually live in the South, you know,
Deep South.
and and there's a certain humility that I feel when I'm in the South, in the U.S., as opposed to something like the Northeast or the West. And so, you know, even speaking to you in real time, I'm sort of learning the skeletons or the structures that sort of form who Shimon is, right? It seems that you were influenced by, Prince and sort of that genre of music, and sort of it's so even captured in a lot of the ways in which, with your hair, right? And you seem to be inspired by that. And then on the other end, someone so talented, you have the gift of oratory, right? You have the gift of writing, the gift of performing. And so it seems like, it's almost destiny that you will eventually, even if you don't want to, you will eventually, it seems to me, be on those billboards, because it's the character and the behavior and the consistency matches, right? Is almost something that is inevitable, at least from my perspective, and especially someone that's obsessed with thinking about the process of things and how things work and what needs to be done, right? And one of the things that I really personally like to do is sort of help people understand that greatness is not outside of themselves. When people listen to the podcast and they see, wow, he has Shimon Davis, a YouTube star and an upcoming actor and so on, and he has Kim Kardashian's friends and he has Michael Posner and all these big people, I want people to understand that you have the capability just like these people, right? And I think that I really, hope that people can understand that. Let's shift gears to this powerful book that I can't wait for you to share with the world. Can you give a very small description of uh, the work and title, maybe, or even whatever you want to give, and also the different chapters? I was captivated by the chapters that you sort of have in there, but give us a little bit of insight into what this book is like, and then I'll ask more follow up questions and get into the more nuanced parts of things.
For sure. So with the book, definitely really excited to get that out, and it's going to be a spiritual guide that kind of helps you navigate through the architecture of the soul. Is what I like to say. The soul is made up of a few parts, and I want to help guide people through that, through things that I've learned, things that I've been through, things that I've experienced and observed very closely, and it will also offer a guide to journaling as well in a few of those chapters. More so where you need to reflect and where you really need to break things down. And I also told people, in the notes, there's a little footnote saying like journal on another piece of paper for more efficiency, more just more space, and that'll build discipline to help you through the journey. But through that journey, you meet yourself at the mirror. The mirror is self-reflection. You really break down who you are, who you thought you were, who the world
That's
taught you to
that.
be.
That's the first chapter, the
Yeah.
mirror.
First chapter is the mirror. That's where you meet yourself, and
Hmm.
you really strip yourself down to who you truly are and relearn or enhance who you already are. Like through my journey, there's still parts of me that I have to unlearn, certain things that were taught to me, or more so just strengthening the belief. And I tell people, question everything, even the things you believe in, because you can find a better way to align with your beliefs rather than what you were taught. So it's always important to question and revisit those things. And moving on from the mirror, when you finally learn who you are, kind of go down that path, you fall into the flame. And the flame is your passions, your aspirations, the fire, underneath you that cooks you, like I like to say. You don't want it to burn you, you want it to cook you. Well done, right? Well done.
Right.
So you move on to the fire, you learn how to harness passion and not let it burn you. You learn how to find that passion. A lot of people don't know what they want to do, but there's also a guide in that helps you learn to find what you want to do, even if it's simply trying a bunch of things. And the more you learn about yourself, or the more you learn that you don't want to do, it gives you a better idea of what you do want to do, and you learn to not let that burn you down. Because even with things you love, if you do it too much, you will burn yourself down, burn yourself out. And it's hard to get back to that. Even the things you love, I think it's a lot harder to get back to something that you love, that you burnt yourself out, rather than something that you have to do. Like you can burn yourself out with work, but you still got to go to work because you still got to pay bills. When you burn yourself out with something you love, it's this very strong push and pull that makes it hard to jump back in it. So just teaching people how to harness that fire. Fire is a beautiful thing. Fire is a powerful thing, but left unharnessed and wild, it will burn and destroy many things. But there's also a part of that destruction that is good for growth. Like going through a farm, you do the prescribed burn at the beginning of the season or the end of the harvest, and it burns all the weeds and underbrush and gets the ground fertile for the next season to grow. Like there's a lot of things, similes, metaphors, figures of speech. Just
So there's a mirror.
yeah.
There's the mirror. There's the flame, and then what's the third? Is it?
So following the flame, like I said, that prescribed burn gets everything ready for the next plant or the next harvest, and that's where you move into the garden. So
The garden, like the harvest, and
yeah,
the watching things grow.
Yep, watching things grow, and I think the best thing to plant within yourself is love. You definitely want to love other people, spread love throughout the world, but that starts with you. Can't pour from an empty cup. So in the chapter of the garden, you learn to love yourself, learn to really debunk self-hatred and realize how delusional it is. Like somebody taught you to hate yourself. You didn't come out the womb hating yourself. So it's just a way to cultivate that love within, learn to navigate love and not be so naive, confusing intensity for intimacy and many other things throughout that, not sacrificing yourself just for love, not mistaking self-abandonment with loyalty. Like, just there's a lot of little components that I, go through and guide people through using my own experiences. And after you move from that garden, then you meet the mountain, or the garden turns into the mountain, and the mountain is where you go through all your struggles. The garden teaches you how to love, and the mountain teaches you how to live. It's okay to be soft and lovely and all of that stuff, be vulnerable, but you got to have a certain strength within that too to keep that softness pure and keep it safe. So you climb the mountain, you go through all your struggles in life, and you overcome all these obstacles. And when you get to the top of the mountain, you realize that you were the mountain the whole time. And you were the force that got you up the mountain. You were the mountain. You were the force that were holding you down. You were the force that got you to the top. You're the force that allows you to overlook everything you ever come through. And once you get to the mountain, then you pick up that crown that you always deserve. You make it to the crown, and that's kind of goes back to what you were saying about the new school, the new age of things. And the crown is where you wear something pure that always belonged to you, but you wear it in a manner of uplifting yourself, uplifting the standard, and uplifting other people. You don't want to crush other people with it. You don't want to pick up false crowns, because it's easy to get into a place of influence and take that deal that's shaped
false crown.
Yeah, it's very easy to take that false crown because it's so easy, it's so convenient. But you got to have a certain standard for that royalty, and have those royalty reminders, giving that to people and yourself. And it's just claiming the power that you always deserve. But in life, I feel like life gives you everything that you want, but you have to show life that you're ready. It's literally waiting on you. Time doesn't wait on you. Nobody waits on you, but life is literally waiting on you. But that time can expire. So that's kind of.
Let me ask you this, Shimon, because I want you to give us a little deeper dive into this self-reflection part. I often, even at the stature that I'm in, find that there's certain choices that I make over and over again that are not great for me and my well-being. And I see those patterns. Like, I was speaking to my cousin, for example, and she says, "You have a type." And I said, "I do." And she's like, "Yeah, you have a type." And normally, those types, right, are not great choices, because I see that, the end result of that, right? And so there are these habits and these patterns and these loops, and some would say generational curse and things like that. When you identify your loop and your pattern that you see isn't particularly optimal for you, how do you in that self-reflecting stage of your book, what do you do? How do you break that pattern?
I say it's important to not mistake wounds for chemistry. Because a lot of times we trauma bond with people, even in the slightest ways. There's a thing you do, like with rabbits. When rabbits don't get along, you put them in a basket on top of a dryer, turn it upside down, and you turn the dryer on. It shakes them. And those two rabbits that hate each other so much are going through something so intense that they bond with each other because they know they have each other. And then when you take the basket off, whatever happened before then, they don't care because they bonded through that trauma. Now, that is a beautiful thing, because a lot of people that relationships are just fine and dandy and everything is cool, and when they're shaken by that dryer, they lose their mind. And then there's other cases where you're with a person and there's a certain sense of familiarity with them, and there's a certain chemistry that y'all have, but then when you really break it down, you see the trauma or the toxicity within it. So in my own life, I've been in places where I would mistaken wounds for chemistry, and just because I can relate with a person, I felt like that was good. So you have to really reevaluate yourself. I would say primarily see what it is that you want out of life, what type of goals you have. So in the case of a relationship, because I certainly have a type 2, and I find myself attracting a lot of broken people. Been there, done that, but I had to reevaluate myself and say, look, I've been through this. Even though these people are not bad people, I no longer deserve whatever that is. I no longer deserve whatever that is, and I am going to create a new criteria for who I want in my life. So I write down what that looks like. A person that does this, a person that does do this, a person that does this, a person that does do this. You know, and I write it down to a T. However, I need to write it down to understand it. And now when I meet another person, I reevaluate that. And I see, yeah, they very cool, but they also disrespectful. Yes, she's very funny, but she has no ambition. And I really get down to the nitty gritty of that. And if there's certain things that I can compromise on, cool. We all can be better, you know, in some way, shape, or form. But then there's those non-negotiables. And when you catch yourself in these loops, you have to make those loops non-negotiables. Whatever that loop is, whatever you find yourself doing over and over, you have to make that a non-negotiable. And you have to stop choosing comfort. It's so easy to choose what you're used to. And that's really what I believe it was. And then I also reevaluate the things that I did. And if I didn't align with a person that I bonded with through wounds, my actions kind of influenced that. Like I talked to you about an ex of mine that had some trauma, and I allowed her to do certain things. And then when it got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore, it was like feeding a puppy that bit your hand every time. And now you're going to get mad 6 months later after it bites your hand when you've been giving it for biting you. Right. Like you have to understand your role in your own suffering, you know. And I take accountability for 100% of everything that I influence. So you really just got to dive deep, man, and be real with yourself. Don't beat yourself up, but take accountability.
Take accountability for your own suffering. That's a powerful bar. Wow. Let me ask you two last questions before we wrap it up. One little gem that I sort of realized when speaking to you, and something that I find interesting, is this idea of journaling, right? You mentioned that a couple times. Why is it important for people to journal? Because I think that, you know, for me, I found that journaling is better when I record audio clips. Right? For me, journaling and writing down is very hard. Partly because I'm, you know, dyslexic, and so hence why I moved towards more mathematical and sciences, you know, because numbers don't flip like letters, right? But tell everyone just briefly why it is important to journal and what you found as the advantages to be.
All right, you have a piece of paper on you right now?
I have a pencil.
I want you to write down.
And I have a paper, yes.
These 10 numbers. Okay? Ready? 1.
Okay.
3. 7. 9.
Yes. 3.
1.
7.
5.
9.
6.
1.
2.
5.
7.
6.
3.
2.
All right. Now,
7.
I am going to write down some letters for you. Hold on. Give me 1 second. All right.
Okay. Perhaps those listening can do the same exercise as well. So the number is 137 915 6273.
But listen to these numbers: 7 2 5 2 4. All right, got those. Now, I want you to tell me about a time that you journaled in your own life that really benefited you. You know, that kind of brought some clarity to you. Just for a simple question.
I actually journaled 2 days ago, and I recorded a clip called Dear Dad. Things I wish I would have spoken to you. You know, as I shared with you, my dad passed away. And so it was a conversation with him, knowing that he would never reply.
Absolutely. So that getting it out of your chest, getting it outside of the mind. All right. So I want you to give me those 5 numbers that I just gave to you, the ones that you didn't write down. Tell me those same numbers.
I know there's one. There was a 5, 7,
there was
1,
a 7.
And 2.
There was a 5.
I don't remember the rest.
All right, but you were missing the 4. All right. Now, I told you to recall 5 numbers that I gave you without writing down, and even though you were damn close, you still forgot one. There was some confusion in there.
Yeah.
And I want you to look at that paper I gave you and recall all 10 of those numbers.
Yeah.
No, the 10. You remember?
There's actually no 4 in them.
I gave you 5 verbally. So tell me.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
1-379-156-273.
10, and you could easily recall that because you could look at 10 different things and analyze that. But giving you 5 things, half of that whole workload verbally, there's already room for confusion. So to me, that's the power of journaling. The mind is powerful. It's a very powerful storage cabinet, but it has a capacity. And when you're going through life, there's a lot of room for confusion. There's a lot of room for disruption. But when you write things down, you see, okay, I'm going through a relationship. What do I not like about this relationship? This person lies. This person is disrespectful. This person is very private.
Wow.
Okay, but what does this person do that's good? This person makes me, they bring me fun, and they buy me gifts, and we go on good trips. Okay, is fun, gifts, and good trips worth being lied to? Is that worth being disrespected? Is that worth dealing with this conniving in it? When you see things on paper, it ain't no hiding from it.
It hits you differently.
Your mind leaves room for elusiveness and creativity and la all of that bullshit, right? Excuse my French, which I don't believe in, but you know what I'm saying? That paper is different. Now I'm also a video journal guy too, because I like the beauty in going back and watching a video and saying, "Damn, that's me in real time." Like, that's me. I see the facial hair I wasn't shaving because I wasn't feeling good. I see the coloration of my eyes, and I see the unmaintained hair. I see me. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely a power to journaling in whatever form. Guitar is journaling to me, you know, in a way. But that's the power of journaling.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty powerful. I mean, we'll end it there, but man, that was a remarkable demonstration, and I think that sort of captured your point that, you know, when you archive these experiences and you have the ability to go back to them, you know, some things are sort of nested and lost that you've experienced that you need to sort of bring them in the forefront, and journaling allows you to do that. That was a remarkable demonstration. It sounds like, you know, the mirror part of your book is going to be quite revealing, and I hope that you have some of these sorts of exercises, because I think that really will, you know, that really sets you apart, I think, in a lot of different ways, because a lot of people talk about these things in different ways, but you definitely have the experience, but also the deep technical insights, right, that can help a lot of people. All right, Shimon, once again, I appreciate you for coming on the podcast. You know, I know you're an incredibly busy person, and you know, I appreciate it. And that ends it for this episode. Thanks for listening.
Glad to be here, man. It was a pleasure. Everybody take care.